What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Vince Rashad, aka the Truth Terrorist 2. And I'm here to talk about this whole Black Lives Matter movement. Now, let me say this off top. I understand the spirit of those words, when projected by protesters and black people in general all across social media and out there in the streets, during a protest. It's to signal to the system that we observe and understand as people that black people are being gunned down and killed and discriminated against and forced to drink lead water in Flint, Michigan, and children in Baltimore are being raised around lead paint in over 45,000 housing units in Baltimore, and there is a problem in Harlem with cockroaches and dead rats in the walls of housing projects there. And there is actually a little epidemic in New York of black children with asthma. So, these forms of systematic neglect and discrimination and, black men and women being gunned down by the cops is cause for there to be a notion. It needs to be projected to the system that we do understand and we fully recognize that we are being made into second-class citizens, you understand? But the real true target in this whole Black Lives Matter movement, make no mistake, is the black man. And you can already see on many social networks, blogs, Twitter, Instagram, specifically Twitter, and a lot of Facebook groups, and other websites, that there's a lot of rambling that, recently, Black Lives Matter, for the most part, just the name of the organization is going to be a polarizing name. Before Black Lives Matter, it was always no justice, no peace. All day we will pray and we will fight for Freddie Gray. It was sayings like that, or hell no, we won't go, no justice, no peace. Just that type of protest, with some failed boycotts and, some pathetic attempts by, the government to get a special prosecutor to just do some basically window dressing that amounts to not too much or nothing, but, for whatever we could do, we came out and protested. But with the social construct of white society and civilization and the sociopathic Caucasoid mindset is that they typically have to have a box to aim their anger at. And this is what George Soros and the Jews who created Black Lives Matter, very well much know that white people need a box to aim their anger at, a square box. And that square box is the name Black Lives Matter, or the title of this movement, Black Lives Matter. Now, the fight against justice and systematic racism is going to be around whether Black Lives Matter is here or whether it disintegrates overnight. You're still going to have people that are going to come out and fight against systematic racism and, the gunning down of black women and men by the police. So it doesn't matter if the group Black Lives Matter here, but you can hear the ramblings from many people who are connected to Black Lives Matter and who hashtag Black Lives Matter. And one particular group that you're hearing the rambling from is from gay, transgender, like the LGBTQ community. These cowardly black men who are gay and who are in this movement, instead of fighting the system like men, they'd rather assume the position of women and be victims in the system of so-called white supremacy as women. They'd rather literally as men take up positions as women and go out and project themselves as women and turn against other black men. You will hear them say, repetitively, give statistics about 80 to 90% of black girls, are molested before the age of 16, which is a complete load of garbage. Just a complete load of garbage. It ain't no 80% of black girls molested before the age of 16. And you'll hear them say that they are more than likely to face domestic violence from a black man than be, victim of police brutality. And, some heterosexual cisgendered man is more likely to randomly jump out of a car and shoot me because I'm gay. So they're hashtagging trans lives matter. And, Black Lives Matter is full of these gay people. And ultimately the aim, and you hear black women do the same thing, because you will observe that in the world, in the cyber world, the electronic internet world, this cyber false reality that exists, that we sit in front of it every day. We hold it in our palm of our hands, we sit it in our lap, we have it up on our desk at home. This completely false reality that we live in, it deteriorates everything down to in-group fighting. No matter what happens, you can have a police walk up to a little black girl, and blow her brains out. That's going to end up being a black man's fault. You can have a homosexual man killed by a police, or an old black woman beaten by a police, or, as we have seen many times in the last 3 or 4 years, a pregnant woman assaulted by a police. And it's going to boil down some way, somehow, to a black man being at fault for it. And what they do to irritate the homosexual crowd, black women, the black feminist women, and, white wannabe so-called white supremacist males, is that they center focus anything having to do with police executions in black men, specifically executions of unarmed black men. They aim very specifically in the media toward the Alton Sterlings, or the Trayvon Martins, or any police killing of a black man, and they play it and they loop it again and again, over and over. And what it does is that it makes black men seem special, even though we are the most economically disenfranchised group and gender in the damn country. Plain and simple, we're economically disenfranchised, socially disadvantaged, politically disadvantaged, educationally. We're catching up and doing some good things in education, but we, still, we need more black men, young black boys, to get into college and trade school and learning things such as STEM degrees and code and various tech orientated skills. But nevertheless, we're the lowest of groups of all people in America. And the absolute focus is on when a police officer kills a unarmed black man. As if, and, everybody, white men, black feminist women, and homosexuals, and LGBTQ, and those who hashtag trans lives matter, they get mad at black men as if black men run this whole media. We're not putting this up in the media. The exact same people who are deciding, what goes in the media, because you have an incident of police execution of a black man every 20 to 25 or 28 hours. You have a black man or a white man who kill one another 2 times a day. Every 24 hours, 2 black men, are either a black man and a white man, kill one another. That's about 600 white men and about 550 black men a year killed by white men. About 600 white people, killed by black men or black people. So they could find a story to racially polarize the nation each and every day. But they absolutely put the focus on black men. And being that these, white men are upset at things such as the National Defense Authorization Act, the Patriot Act, the gutting of the 4th Amendment, just in July 12th of this year, just last month, and, in July 12th, 2016, you had, President Obama and the Congress and the Senate pass even more laws, basically authorizing the U.S. military to fight against citizens. These are egregious violations of the Constitution, and in no shape or way is this supposed to be what this country was built upon. And this is what white men get mad at, but they can emotionally align white men with the system, because white men believe that when the black man says whitey, or so-called blame the white man, that he's blaming the average everyday white buffoon who's pretty much in the same position that he's in. I mean, money-wise, this country is stagnant economically. There could be an economic collapse anytime within the next 2 to 5 years. The average American only has $600 to $900 saved up. About 60 to 70% of the population is living paycheck to paycheck. And yet, when we say whitey or the white man, you get the average white Joe who's struggling just as bad as you, who jumps out the woodwork, or either when the white the Jewish controlled media decides to begin hashtagging all over social media and airing exclusively 1 or 2 stories pertaining to a black man getting killed, then all of a sudden you get the feminists and the homosexuals who say that black men are unfairly overrepresented in the news media in police brutality and violence, as if it's our fault. And in order for anybody to get anything, you've got to vilify the black man. I mean, white feminist women talk about rape culture all the time. And you end up getting a white man, a white boy in college who puts a woman to sleep and has sex with her. And he gets a pathetic little sentence of only 6 months in jail. But if the feminists are going to get anything, you have a black man who commits the same crime, puts a woman to sleep with prescription meds, and he gets sentenced to 15 years in jail. So if they name a law in order to compensate victims that have been raped in that particular way, they're going to name it after the victim that the black man raped. Because these feminists, these black women, these white women, these homosexual groups, they know that they aren't going to get any leverage, and they're not going to climb, and they're not going to get any type of money or any bills passed trying to crawl up and have these things done by way of making a white man seem like the primary aggressor or the villain. It has to be the black man. And all, Black Lives Matter is going to deteriorate into a total feminist movement in which black men are going to be the target of black female hatred. And as you see with the Jewish guy in New York, who's married to a black woman, has 3 children by her, and who's given 22 different women sperm. This man has 25 children. Yet this woman this black woman who's married to him has filed no divorce. So this is the double standard and the privilege. This guy was on news media talking it up, laughing with people. Talking it up, laughing with people on the news media. They were allowing him to make a big joke of it. If this were a black man, he would have been drugged through the mud. But that just ends this PSA on this whole Black Lives Matter movement. It's used to incite white folk to these snipers are being associated with Black Lives Matter, and white people tend to box any form of anger aimed at black people into the entire complete notion of Black Lives Matter. It can be some court case of discrimination or some angry group of black people, and they're immediately going to be associated with Black Lives Matter. And like I said, these demands that the gay people and the women who are in Black Lives Matter are making, they're not going to be met. They're going to get frustrated, and they're going to realize that the only leverage they have is that if they go against the black man. Mark my word for that. This your boy Vince Rashad, aka the Truth Terrorist. I'm up out of here.